Today I have a guest who has quite a large resume. And Bill Oberst Jr. is joining us as an actor with a whole lot of experience, especially in a genre that has always fascinated me because I can't watch it. It's horror, right, Bill?
Thank you for having me, Kathy. And it's funny you say that because I just did a documentary about how horror films really are morality tales and they're cautionary tales about humanity. And that's the way I like to approach the genre. I play all these reprehensible people, but what I am hoping to put across is that all of us are potentially that reprehensible person. We all have the propensity and the possibility, but we can choose how we want to act. So all of the people that I play are saying, don't act like this guy.
I love that because yeah, I've always wondered that because I work a lot around high sensitivity, and our biggest talent is empathy and really feeling the emotions of others. So that's probably the reason why I can't watch those movies because they really stick with me. I get nightmares, I can't sleep. But I've always wondered, I mean, playing that role, is it like you can turn off the button, or do you really stick into the character for a little while? How do you cope with that?
I consider myself to be an empathetic person. I don't hurt. I try not to hurt anything. I let a bug out of the house the other night. I captured him in a little tin and put him out because all life is sacred. So to portray evil, darkness, bad moral choices, I can't pretend. All I can do is surrender to that. And I can surrender to it because I know that we all have the possibility within us. If I thought people were inherently good, that we were born out of the womb good, I couldn't do this. But I don't believe that. I believe we all have the possibility for tremendous nobility and tremendous cruelty within us. So I surrender to the latter, and you have to live in it while you're in it. And even though, people will say, oh, it's just a movie, it leaves a scar. If you're doing it correctly, it leaves a scar. In some ways, it's a good scar. Each character reminds you, you could be this. And in other ways, sometimes there are nightmares and sometimes things stick with you. Yeah.
And do you experience that as well when you play the role? Because that is obviously how we experience it. I mean, probably more the sensitive types, but when we watch it, that is exactly what happens. But
Yeah,
is that for you the same when you play that role? Because you're
it is.
embodying that character.
And during the embodying is a very astute word for you to use, because I'm very into the fact that we are embodied physical creatures. I really like to bring my whole body to the role. And so you are, from your fingertips to your toes to the top of your head, you are embodying this character. And so while you're playing it, you have to embrace the fact that even very bad people don't consider themselves to be very bad. That's the horrifying thing, is that no matter how reprehensible the act, the person doing it is justifying it. And so while you're playing it, you justify it, and you don't think that the person you're playing is very bad, because if you thought they were very bad, you really couldn't play them. And then once it's done, you can try to release it all and realize, oh my God, I just played a really, really bad person. Yeah, absolutely. But while you're doing it, you have to surrender to it.
Yeah, I really like the way you approach this, because as the more spiritual that we get in life, the more we think that everything has to be light and love, but that is also pushing away a side of us that is also there, and that is actually creating a lot of guilt and shame about pieces of ourselves or parts in ourselves that are also there and that also especially need that light and love, but that we, that we want to hide it, we want to push it away. So it's so beautiful that you talk in this way about it.
Because sorrow, to me, Kathy, sorrow is one of the core experiences of human life. Sorrow and suffering. And if a person doesn't come to terms with sorrow and suffering, they spend their whole life running and pushing aside. And so when it comes, it hurts even more. So horror films really are a cathartic way to experience these universal human emotions, and then to sort of have a little bit of that in your DNA and say, all right, I've experienced that. It's like the same reason people ride roller coasters. I think it's not just the fear, it's also the experience of sorrow and suffering, because much of life is sad or at least bittersweet. And to me, happiness and joy only exist in opposition to sorrow and suffering. They can't exist otherwise.
No, and I mean, everything in our lives is built up on that concept, because we only enjoy the sun when we've had a long time of rain or dark clouds, and we enjoy the rain. I mean, we're praying for rain, we're dancing for rain when it hasn't rained for weeks. So yeah, I always thought that it's so beautiful how those opposites always need to be there in order to appreciate it. And that even that, rain can be seen as something negative, but it is also something very positive and something that we really need. So it's also perspective. And I think that is also what you're doing. You're putting your role in a certain perspective to play it and to be able to surrender it, right?
And we see this in the natural world, right? The natural world is not filled entirely with happiness, goodness, and light. Nature can be very rough. There are no straight lines in nature. Only humans make geometric straight boxes that things can fit in. In nature, everything flows. Everything flows from the root to the branch. And so I think accepting all of that, there's a movement recently that I have been reading about, and there are journals. It's called Gothic nature. And it's people who accept in nature the darkness and the light that's in there, sort of a yearning to return to the natural world, but not just to a beautiful, perfect landscape, but to the real gnarled world as it is, because we're part of that. We're made of the same stuff, I think.
Yeah, for me, that's 100% what it is. If you see how metaphysics works and they say, everything is energy, that means us, the trees, the air, the ground, the animals, that is everything. So I always see it like I am part of everything, and we are all one and we are all whole. And that has been very easy for me to find my way and to always feel even accepted, because that for me that was a long journey to feel accepted and to feel like I could have a place in this world.
Yes.
So,
and I think so many people feel that they don't have a place in this world, exactly. that the world doesn't accept them, or that their bodies or their minds or their lives are not acceptable. But all life is acceptable, because all life exists, right?
Exactly. And I mean, for me, it was like I didn't feel at home here on Earth. And it took that time for me to really find myself and to really own it and to really accept the fact that there are dark parts and that I can step into my light and shine a light on those dark parts as well. So what was that journey like for you? Have you ever felt that way? Or what was your journey to actually become an actor and to choose this specific genre as well? Your growth in that?
Well, I chose acting for the same reason that most people that I know that are good at it, if you ask them why they chose it, they'll describe some painful childhood. Nobody who's worth a damn in my business ever says, oh yeah, everything was great. I was very happy growing up. We were all miserable, misfit kids.
Okay.
So for me, I was the fat kid, the smart kid, the ugly kid, the sissy kid. I was very awkward. All I wanted to do was books, no interest in sports, very sensitive. And so I didn't feel that I fit at all into the macho American South world that I was born into. And I remember I would compartmentalize as a boy, and I thought of humans as them, and then me as me. Even to the point of disassociating, of saying, how interesting. So humans do this and they do that. It was my defense mechanism to think of them as almost another race, another species. And the way that I joined the human race was by learning that I could entertain people and beginning to play other types of people. It helped me not be afraid of them. Each different type of person that I played and embodied, I thought, oh, I can understand that, and that's in me, and that's in me, and that's in me. And even though I'm not a football jock, the possibility of the football jock is in me. I understand. The more different types of humans you begin to try to understand and empathize with, the less afraid you are of anybody, until finally, when you're an old guy like me who's been doing this for 20 years, you view all of humanity as almost children. You're not really afraid of anybody, no matter how blustery they are, or how mean they are, or how important they are. You can just kind of smile and go, oh, child, because we're all children.
Yeah. Oh, that's beautiful. Beautifully said. And there is so much value in those words, because yeah, that's exactly how people can look at it. If you can empathize with everyone, you don't have to fear anyone. And you can, because what I often see with my clients, for example, especially in the industry of acting and artists, singers, they really very easily, probably because of that childhood, bring themselves down and put other people on the pedestal. But that is such a destructive place to be in, because then you will never feel safe doing that, nor will you ever feel successful or happy if you keep doing that. And what you've just shared is actually a beautiful way to put everyone on that same level. I'm not less, I'm not more than no matter who. And that is exactly what it is all about. So
Well, I sort of do death for a living. So I think quite a lot about
yeah,
the end of things, and the transitory nature, and the very delicate fragility of life.
yeah. And as highly sensitive people, that is something that we naturally already do. So if you feel like you are a sensitive person and you are in that role, I can only imagine how many, thoughts will have passed your mind regarding those topics, because already we are so self-conscious and aware and thinking about everything and about the meaning of life and what we're here for. And in your case, that just goes to a whole other level that a lot of, most people aren't confronted with those topics the way you are and on the level that you are. Have you, what was the biggest challenge that you've ever experienced in that process?
In the process of
growing as an actor in that niche, for example, because I can understand that probably wasn't easy from the start, or maybe it was.
I've always loved horror, and I always sort of felt like a monster. I did 14 years of stage where I didn't play anybody scary, and then I started doing film 14 years ago. And when I started doing film, because the camera is like this, the camera only sees eyes, my face has a lot of the markers of malevolence, a lot of the markers that scientifically make people say, don't trust this face. Some faces are like that. And so I began being cast sort of monstrously. And it was fun because I always enjoyed horror, but I had never really accepted my body. I have kind of a weird torso and a sunken in rib cage. It's a little bit deformed or unusual. And so I have this really sort of almost like corpse-like, skeletal, cadaverous-like look. And so, you know, I really took my shirt off when I was a kid. And I just learned to kind of, you know, like just keep my body as something that was just for me. Not even really for me, just something that I didn't think about it, you know, sort of disassociated the body from the rest of it. Anyway, so in horror, you use your body a lot. And a lot of times you're bloody and your skin is exposed, and your body becomes an object. If you're playing the villain, your body becomes an object of fear and an object of horror. And doing that, bringing my entire body, making myself do that, because I had directors who said, you know, this is the way I want you to appear, and it would be good if you did this. Giving into that and bringing my whole body to a performance, that was the biggest obstacle that I had. But once I did it again, I was no longer afraid. And now I can look in the mirror at myself and my body and say, I like this, not because it meets some standard of beauty, but because it's me. I like it because it's me. I live in here. And that's why I like it. And that's enough. It's enough. I don't have to meet anyone's standard of attractiveness. This is mine. And it's really all I'll ever own. And I'll take it down to the grave with me. Exactly. And I love it. I like it. And I'm not going to hurt it or abuse it or treat it poorly, but neither am I going to exalt it or treat my flesh as if it's something very special to be lauded. It's not. It's just a body like everyone else. Yeah. And I think, I'm sorry my answer is so long, but that I feel passionately about this. I think we do this to people who have unusual bodies, unusual faces, unusual physical forms. We make them feel that they have to either be as repelled as we are by them, or they have to burst out and be filled with pride just at having a body. And I don't think either one is really true. It's just about accepting what we have. You know, at the end of my long answer, that sounds pretty cliche, but there it is.
But becoming a mother, I have learned that cliches are most of the times very, very appropriate. So, no, I absolutely love this answer. And it really touched me, because I think probably 98% of all people feel that way, even maybe on a different part or something this or something that. And we do live in a day and age that we all have to look perfect, feel great about ourselves, do a million things, and get a lot of likes probably as well. And that is so destructive. And I think that this topic is something that definitely needs the attention and the love, the way that you are sharing it, and the passion especially. So no, thank you very much. That is a very beautiful answer. Do you have like a tip or an insight that you can share with people about what you did to come from, you made a long journey there. You had quite the transformation from really not loving your body to accepting and loving the fact that this body is here to serve you. And actually, more so, it even helped you in becoming that person who can really play those roles on the next level, because that is an asset for you. So how did you transition from A to B? I think if you have like some insights or something that you did that can really inspire others as well.
Well, I think everyone is different. For me, I think I came through it primarily through my faith, and the closer I got to the idea of incarnation and of a creator incarnating in human form, something spiritual being embodied in these rough, sweating, bleeding physical forms. It's very beautiful to me when I began to think that within this flesh, something non-flesh could potentially also exist. Studies of consciousness, which continues after death, scientific studies of it. Reading about all of this evidence that there's something outside of ourselves, that we're not just flesh and blood. For me, that helped to make every single body beautiful. Because if there is something outside of ourselves, it's not just in me or you, it's in all life.
Yeah.
And so I began to look at other people as containers, vessels for something great and mysterious that I don't understand. So I certainly can't pretend to understand them. And in no way can I judge their appearance. And so trying to almost look through the body to something that's grand and mysterious that I do not understand at all, but I love to look at and to contemplate. Film work helps with this because film is nothing but eyes.
Yeah.
Stage the whole body, but it's nothing but eyes. And when you look into someone's eyes in a scene, when you have a scene partner who will really give you their eyes, and you probably have never met this person, and you see them 10 minutes before, you're sharing everything you have through your eyes. It's so beautiful, Kathy, because we're doing it because we're paid to do it, and it's our craft. But it only illustrates to me every time it happens, we could do this as human beings. We could share with one another this way if we chose to, if we weren't so damned afraid.
Yeah, that for me, when I envision that, the bigger picture that you're talking about, have you seen the movie Avatar?
Yeah.
That the planet Pandora, I mean, I was at home. I still get goosebumps. I was at home when I saw, is that like, you know, feeling it and seeing it and embodying it without having to share it? I mean, that is, yeah, I think we're on the same page. That is exactly the way that I see and feel it as well. And what I've noticed is that, because the way you say the judgment that we have when we look at other people, what I've noticed working with a lot of artists, people who live their life in the spotlight, you know, you get judged a lot.
Oh, yeah.
And, you know, even people who don't live their life in the spotlight, but especially that there's a magnifying glass. And that means that, you know, the way the high sensitive brain works is that we already put so much thought into other people to make them happy.
Yes.
And thinking about what they would think, that is really slowing us down. So that is something I see a lot. Do you have experience with that as well?
Yes, a horrible experience with it, but not in real life, only on this virtual platform, this world that we're in, this reality that's not a reality, in which you're on a platform which is called Twitter, and suddenly you are connected with 100,000 people who follow and wait for you to say things. And invariably, out of 100,000 people, you will have, I don't know, a couple thousand who will comment negatively on what you say and pull it apart and examine it. And so it makes you not want to say anything.
Yeah.
Until, again, you surrender to it and you realize we're all children and this is another sandbox. And some people will throw sand, but it's okay because it's not me they're throwing sand at, because they don't know me and I don't know them. I don't know them. That's the weird thing about social media. It's like you're on the other side of other people and there's a sheet between you. And all they can really see is your hand pushing through the sheet. They can touch you with their hand, but there's still the sheet between you. You can never know them and they can never know you. So the easy familiarity with which we hurl insults virtually is, I mean, I guess it's very human, but it can be very damaging if you don't realize that ultimately it's not real. What's real, if you and I were talking face to face, it would be super real. But this, what we're doing right now, to me, feels real.
Yeah.
Because we're actually speaking and sharing as human beings and looking into each other's eyes. But we don't have the opportunity to do that when we do a post. So
No.
all of my experience of the kind of thing that you talk about is on social media. I have to steel myself to do it. It's a part of my job, but otherwise I would be off of all of those platforms so quickly. I would just love not to have to do it.
I get that. That has always been my biggest question. Like people, for example, when you take a look at the Kardashian family with millions and millions and millions of followers, I mean, to me, that just feels exhausting if I would even have to think about having to check their inbox, because that is just not even thinking about the negativity, because there's always people who spread negativity. That's the way you said, there's the light, there's the darkness. We all have it. And sometimes we say something and it can trigger someone. And it's like you said, it's not about you. It's about something inside them that is being triggered. But so many of us empaths, especially in this world, yeah, we all want to do a good job. We all want to be loved. We all want to, be accepted as well. And then that is just like a hurricane going through.
Social media is not made for empaths, Kathy. Social media it's so hard for empaths, because if one person is displeased with what you say and they say, well, I find this offensive or hurtful, you just want to, for me, I want to make it right, and so I just want to, it just makes me want to take everything down and say, well, then everything I've ever said is wrong, and overreact. It's very hard.
Yeah, and that is because our brain is programmed to always take the social context into account. So when we get input, we already have a deeper way of processing information, but there is also this part in the processing that is really thinking about, okay, my next move, what can I do that it makes this person, this person, this person, and this person happy? And then we often forget ourselves in that journey. And that's when it's starting to get rough, because we're too much in the social context. And that is creating a lot of distress in the body when, in the body and in the feelings, when we see something and people, don't like what we're doing, or they feel hurt, especially because being sensitive people, we never want to hurt anyone. It's like you said, we would put a mosquito outside. I put spiders outside. I'm terrified of mouse, but I will put them outside. I will not kill them. I mean, that's really recognizable. And I love talking to you, Bill. I think this is amazing that you are sharing your beautiful soul with us today.
Well, this is healthy for me. This is a healthy conversation. You're helping me, so thank you.
Oh, that's lovely. Well, actually, it's always nice to feel to have a chat with like-minded people. So I'm having a blast here. I do have one more question for you, Bill. What's next? What is the future for you? What is your desire from here on in your life, career?
In my life, I want to be a good son, a good partner, a good friend. I'm acutely aware of how short life can be. And the relationships that are closest to me in my physical life, I want to give them the love and the care and the attention that I was going to say that they deserve, but that it's my job to do. It's my duty. It's my pleasure. You know what I'm saying? Not that, oh, you deserve me to be nice to you. No, it's that the universe, God, however you will have it, has put you in my life. And it's my job then to take care of you in whatever ways I can, to offer myself to you in self-sacrificial love for my closest relationships. You can't do that with everyone in the world, of course.
Oh, no.
But so personally, it's that. And professionally, it's to do something. I, of course, like every creative person, am driven to do something that lasts. I've done a lot of intangible things and things that are temporary and transitory and silly little things. But I do have it within my soul to do something that lasts. There was an author named Ray Bradbury, a science fiction author. And when I was a kid, I encountered one of his books and it changed my life. And I would like to leave some piece of work behind that some future misfit child may pick up and say, from this, I am helped in my life. So I don't know what that is, but it will be shown to me when the time comes, if the time comes before my time comes. But like we said in nature, it has to flow.
Yeah.
It has to flow. All things have to flow. But for me, the first thing is, in my faith, there's a saying, seek first the kingdom of God and everything else will come to you. For me, that means what has been given to me in my personal life, my pets, my child, my mother, my father, my partner, all of those things, take care of what is closest to you first, and then extend out from that into the rest. But if you try to put your career first, at least for me, and say, I must be an important person and do important work, but I neglect my personal relationships, dismal failure is ahead.
Yeah, definitely. And there is just like this one thing that I'm missing in this story, and that is you've put all your love, but that is what we were just talking about. You've put all your loved ones out there, but I would love to hear you say, first, you love, nurture, and take care of you. And then out of that, the others. But I'm sure that that is there. I just really wanted to point it out. Yeah.
My people-pleasing side doesn't allow me to say it much, but Kathy, right. I do love and nurture myself. Beautiful. And try to take care of myself, because if I don't do that, and I haven't done that at all times in the past, if I don't do it, I can't take care of those around me. So I'm letting them down and I'm letting myself down. I like myself. It took me a long time to arrive at the place. I don't exalt myself, but I like myself.
Yeah,
I like you. I've really enjoyed this conversation.
Yeah, me too. Me too. I think that you have a beautiful, warm soul, and I think just hearing you talk, this is going to inspire so many people who feel the exact same way. And it is true. And it's the people pleasing part, but it's also a little bit society where it's wrong to put yourself first. So that is why I would make a point out of it, not because of you, but because we need to hear that first. My husband always says, when the plane is going to crash, the first thing they tell you is you have to take the mask first and then someone else. And I always love that. I love that. I mean, how he makes it visual, and it's so true. But very often, especially because we have that pleasing ability that is being programmed in our brain, it can sometimes make it hard for us to put that first. And so I'm very, very happy to hear you say that you do that and that you nurture yourself and that you like yourself and hopefully love yourself, because I honestly think that you are a very beautiful person. And I would love to stay in touch with you and to keep the conversation going, because this has just been very inspirational. And I'm sure that many will agree with me.
Thank you. I really appreciate this opportunity and I admire your work. Keep doing what you're doing. We need it.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much for your time, Bill. We are going to say goodbye, and I hope to speak to you soon.
Thank you, me
Bye.
too.